With the recent announcement of Tenkaichi 4, many people are hyped for the game, myself included. However, since the announcement, I've been seeing some wild takes on Twitter about the reveal of the game and what's it going to do to upcoming games. So it made me wonder, why do y'all put so much faith into arena fighting games? Now don't get me wrong, arena games can be extremely fun. As I said before, I'm hyped for the Tenkaichi games. It's definitely one of my favorite Dragon Ball games in existence. But right now, arena fighting games have not been on a good track record from the general public in a long while. Have you seen the reactions to Naruto, Boruto, Ninja Storm collections? There has been nothing but memes surrounding its announcement, yet we haven't gotten almost any news about the game and what's it about. What's insane is that a lot of people are going to buy the game anyway. So let's step back and ask the question, why do arena fighting games get so much love despite the amount of backlash it gets? And what are the problems? Let's start with the game roster. Arena fighters are known for having huge rosters. These give players a lot of choices to choose from their favorite characters to even obscure ones.
Look at this dude.
For example, both Tenkaichi 3 and Naruto Stormfall have over 100 characters in their roster. However, the reason for that is simple: duplicate characters. Arena fighters use this method to stretch their rosters, and while having duplicate characters isn't bad, you run the risk of having multiple characters play almost the exact same. Developers make this choice to give characters similar or the same animation to save time and money. Other game genres uses this method too, so don't think I'm trying to hate or anything. The reason why this is a problem is because when you have a roster of over 100 characters, and there's a lack of diversity, then the feeling of a huge roster loses its flair. Now that we got the roster out of the way, let's talk about the elephant in the room: the gameplay. Gameplay has always been a major focal point of discussion when it comes to arena fighters, and for good reason. Having people be able to jump into the game with their favorite characters is good. However, the problem in the genre falls into the fact that they've sacrificed the depth of the mechanics to make this possible.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
This makes the game almost bare bones, with little to explore, and results in many of these games becoming button mashers. Or at least that's half true. You see, many people who decide to dig deeper into arena fighters usually find more advanced technique that the game technically wasn't supposed to have. This happens in many fighting games, and arena fighters are no different. For example, Tenkaichi 3 has both semi-flanks and back roll cancels. These are all well and good, but the issue is many of these techniques aren't known to people if they aren't taking the game seriously, as these weren't intentional design choices by the development team. There's also balancing issues with many of these games. Many arena fighters are licensed anime games that are required to release in a certain amount of time. So with these fixed time schedules, many of these games tend to have issues during development that go under wraps until the consumer buys the game. For example, transformations that are unbelievably strong in a very jarring way. And with the aforementioned problem of having multiple characters feel the same in gameplay, the gameplay of arena fighters feel immensely lackluster. Although these are problems, many people don't notice these issues. People love feeling powerful with the lack of balancing. People love seeing flashy combos and bright lights when they press buttons. After all, it's an anime game where you see characters fly across the screen and summon meteors. Speaking of characters, let's talk about DLC for a second. DLC allows the developers to add more cosmetics and characters to the game after the fact. And depending on the title, it's a chance to add more story. The issue with DLC in arena fighters is that it usually never fixes the issues that plagues it. As I mentioned earlier, many arena fighters are just anime licensed games. Cash grabs. Once development ends for one game, the company that owns the IP is already looking at development for the next. DLC are usually treated as something to hold over the player until the next game drops, which will most likely add the exact characters that they added prior. There's really no telling when arena fighters will make its way out of the path it led itself into, but there are some diamonds in the rough. Games like Kill la Kill F chooses quality over quantity, and it really shows with how unique each character was in gameplay, sacrificing its roster size in the process. The Naruto Storm series paved the way for modern arena fighters, and the Tenkaichi series was the previous best arena fighter there was. So here's the hope Tenkaichi 4 does the same and bring us into a new era of arena fighters.